This is the way. Spoilers ahead for episode 21 of The Mandalorian entitled The Pirate. We have finally done it. We've finally done it. Star Wars Rebels is here in live action, and I'm super excited to see Zeb Orrelios on The Mandalorian. But what does this mean going forward? Yes, it's great to see Zeb in live action. I'm happy. Because when they announced that Sabine Wren had been cast, then they announced that Hera Syndulla had been cast. We know Ahsoka is being played by Rosario Dawson. We know Katie Sackhoff is playing Bo-Katan. So they have been sprinkling in these characters from the Clone Wars and Rebels, and now we're seeing them. Now we're pulling everything together, if you will. I have lots of thoughts to come back to in a moment, but Zeb Orrelios has a lot of heart. His backstory is amazing. His growth as a character, just being one for his people, the Lasat, his family aboard the Ghost, and the larger rebellion. He's a lovable guy. He's a character that looks out for the little guy and is there for people. He's just there for people. And to finally have him here, it cements the legacy of characters in Star Wars, where we had a lot of characters who started in live action and went to animation, but he just represents the testament to the craft of the likes of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, telling a large story, with Dave Filoni largely behind Rebels and Clone Wars before our live action shows, and just to see how these beloved characters are brought to live action. We first got to see that with Saw Gerrera in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, and I love that the tradition is continuing on in these projects and introducing these characters to people who did not watch the animated series. So I'm happy to see him. I'm happy to see that we're bringing our heroes to the larger galaxy as a whole. In Star Wars Rebels, Zeb was a member of the Ghost Crew. Star Wars Rebels is set roughly 4 years before the events of Rogue One: A Star Wars Story in Episode 4, A New Hope. And in the last episode of the series, we find Ahsoka Tano coming to Sabine Wren, our Mandalorian in the picture above, who are actually trying to find Ezra Bridger, who is the young Jedi next to the droid chopper, who went missing. Back to my larger thoughts. Like I said before, in the series finale of Star Wars Rebels, in the last few moments of the episode, which actually jumps to the ending of Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, Ahsoka comes to Lothal and finds Sabine. The two of them are going off in the galaxy to find Ezra, who actually went in hyperspace with Grand Admiral Thrawn to parts unknown. And actually, it was because of the Purrgil that Ezra, who in a previous episode of the show had bonded with in the Force. He's a strong Jedi. He has a strong connection with beings in the Force. But the Purrgil are creatures that can travel through hyperspace. Remember this scene in the first episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian? Those were the Purrgil in hyperspace that were traveling with Din Djarin and Grogu. Grand Admiral Thrawn. In the finale of the series, he and Ezra are whisked away into hyperspace to parts unknown. And it has been a big mystery this entire time since the series ended. Where did Ezra go? What happened to Thrawn? These are great characters. Legacy characters, if you will. In the Season 2 episode of The Mandalorian entitled The Jedi, Ahsoka Tano does battle with Morgan Elizabeth in the city of Caladan, where at the end of their duel, Ahsoka asked, "Where is your master? Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" This was our first glimpse into the mystery surrounding the whereabouts of Ezra Bridger. So how does Zeb play into all of this? Despite them having their moments, Zeb loved Ezra, just like he loved everyone else on the Ghost Crew. Now, although we won't get a live-action Kanan Jarrus because Kanan passed away in the series, it doesn't mean we can't get a potential Force Ghost if he learns the training in the nether realm of the Force. Who knows? It's anything. It's possible. Anything is possible. But Zeb would want his family back. Grand Moff Gideon. In our latest episode of The Mandalorian, we find out that Grand Moff Gideon did not make it to trial. He was actually liberated. We also saw signs that Beskar armor was involved in the skirmish with the New Republic, which actually points to signs that Mandalorians may have been involved in his liberation. Amnesty Officer Elia Kane, everyone's favorite Imperial. Although she has been integrated into the New Republic, I believe she is still serving under Moff Gideon, because he needs a plant on the inside. We can't forgive her for what she did in Dr. Pershing. With everything we have seen thus far, it would seem that the roads are pointing toward the rise of Grand Admiral Thrawn and the resurgence of Grand Moff Gideon. Specifically, Grand Admiral Thrawn, not only because we know that he is the antagonist in the Ahsoka series, but it would only serve purpose to slowly introduce him the way they're doing. In the first episode, we got to see the Purrgil, and in this episode, we saw Zeb, who was involved, or rather, who was there with the Purrgil and Zeb at the same time, Thrawn. So I believe, and I'm saying this now before the season is over, that come to the end of season 3, we are definitely going to see Grand Moff Gideon, but we are also going to see Grand Admiral Thrawn in power, and he is an Imperial warlord that we saw potentially the ones who bombed Bo-Katan's castle. May not have been Thrawn, could have been Gideon, but there is a master plan at work. And also with the cloning, could be pointing toward the cloning of Emperor Palpatine, but could be doing something else with the story. But it seems that everything is going for Palpatine's grand design and his resurgence and everything involved that. But all this is, at this point in time in the timeline, even factoring in the events of Bad Batch Season 2 into the grand scheme of things, it seems that we're going the route of cloning and the rise of Thrawn. So, sings up Zeb Aurelios in Mandalorian with Bo-Katan there, with Ahsoka there. It's great. It's fantastic, and I'm loving what we're getting. So I know we have a few episodes more to go with season 3. I'm highly looking forward to the remainder of the season and what's to come. So thanks for listening and watching and tuning in, and you have a great day.